Hey guys, so I left the park tonight. A little upset. I mean, I was underwhelmed with the band anyways. Sort of. Just bluegrassy, but incredibly slow. The last complete song I heard, they changed this time signature 3 times within the first 3 minutes. And not by talent, I would say. And then the last song I left to, and I even tossed my sweet potato fries, was because, not because of the cause, that is Guitars for Vets, but they also thank their ambassadors, and I think it's wonderful. There are so many chapters around the world right now. But we have a local ambassador who is raised up and hoisted up on a pedestal by Cream City Music, and that is Sarah Gallenberger. And the night after, her family made me sleep outside of their house because the boy I had been dating, who treated me like shit, either didn't come home or was too drunk and locked the door, even though he was calling me, begging me to come over that night, and I happened to be at a party that was relatively close, so I said fine. And that knocking on the door, calling the house, ringing the doorbell, that same family who was always awake, would always answer everything, and the father in the house was always awake till way early in the morning drinking, decided that, like always, that's where I should have been. And if you look at her interview with the Milwaukee Journal, and she says she didn't know about PTSD, knowing that amongst her family, they had known that there was a rape situation that had happened to me not long before. And you consider her cousin, David, who is in a close, and these are the words of Betsy Bendykowski, who is her aunt, who is also a Gallenberger. And you realize this grooming had been there. There is nothing legal about his close relationship since, and I mean, I wasn't even involved with the family, I don't think, when the little girl was born. But you
Did I get any mail?
Not that I know of.
Alright, thanks.
And you look at the abusive situation with the ex-boyfriend, and then here's Sarah saying, I paint these guitars, I donate them, I don't play at all, I'm better as an artisan painting guitars, I've only had 1 lesson in my lifetime. And then you see her at NAMM and painting these guitars as well for auction, and boasting Cream City Music, which is Joe Gallenberger's. And you realize the amount of theft that has gone on generationally, and this goes back to that father in the house I was talking about, and he knew my families, the Vanderlees. And he never said a word, because from the start, that's what it was, is even if you don't know who you are, I know your family. I'm sinking my talons in. And it was really just a disgusting situation, and I've never got to the bottom of maybe he was slow and attracted to my grandma or my Aunt Linda, or, I mean, it was just one of those really weird situations. And then you have Joe Gallenberger, who doesn't play at all, Sarah working in his shop, who doesn't play at all. You have Mark insulting people with the guitar, and his family just clapping and thinking he's wonderful, and isn't he a musician? And he's the one who wrote that fucked up Vegas song. And when I made it back to Wisconsin, and after I had lived in my home for a certain period, and the landlord had taken down my science experiments, and she absolutely destroyed a Reich home, which, yes, it does belong to me. Your fucked up woodwork may not, if we can call it that, but my papa told me to stay put, so I did. And so by the time the city came to remove me from the property, and here I am, thinking any of my lawyer friends or my fairy godmother would step in and go to court for me and say this is what the fucking deal is, and how much theft that this landlord has engaged in and taken from the community and taken from Amy, which none of it happened. My stuff ended up in storage. So when worst comes to worst, I was like, you know what, let's see. So I go back over to the Bendykowskis, and then the ex-boyfriend's older brother was like, yes, you can stay at my house, it's a few blocks away from my parents' house, whatever. And it ended up being like less than 2 weeks, and he was like, you gotta go, you gotta leave. And I'm like, say no more, you already fucking sunk your ship, and you bit at every fucking lure I threw, including trying to get into bed with me. So I don't fucking play that shit. So you want to talk about PTSD, and then on Sarah's page, shortly after Mike wanted me to leave his house, then she's going to post a picture at Vanguard of her and the ex-boyfriend's 2 older brothers eating dinner there, and it's all just fucking disgusting. It is, I mean, you just, like, you wouldn't even believe it. So if you watch those things and you look up the people I have mentioned, that is probably a quarter of the story. And I want them to take this incredibly serious. I want Fender to take this fucking serious, because I have heavy affiliations with a lot of musicians who will pull. And believe me, it's to the point where it'll be non-existent afterward with the rest of everything. I fucking promise.